hope this is working. This is my third time recording. Okay, so when we learned about the Federalist Paper authorship and how we can use analytics and probability and statistics to analyze whether or not a person wrote a particular document, I, being the book nerd that I am, was immediately reminded of the kind of fringe conspiracy theory that Shakespeare didn't actually write his own text, but rather that someone else had written it and just taken his name, because someone from a small town who didn't go to college, who wasn't in the court, who hadn't traveled, how could he have possibly written such humongously important and incredible works of literature? So yeah, that's what I wanted to investigate. And basically I just used the statistics from this page on the course reader of how we did the Federalist Paper analysis. So basically, what's the probability that Shakespeare wrote the writing, given the writing, divided by the probability that the other author wrote the writing, given what the writing was. The three main authors who were alleged to have actually written Shakespeare's work were Francis Bacon, Christopher Marlowe, and Edward de Vere. They're all writers in their own right, although de Vere is less famous, and therefore I had correspondingly more difficulty finding his writings. But anyhow, in order to do this, I basically iteratively took subsections of Shakespeare's works out of the quantity or the set of Shakespeare's works in order to treat them as this document that we didn't know whether it belonged to him or not, basically in order to test whether he had a consistent style across all of his writings, because we don't have some sort of already established set of things that he wrote. And I did this iteratively just in case certain plays were more like each other than others in terms of style. So anyhow, in order to do this math, you expand out the conditional probabilities into Bayes' rule, which then allows you to cross out a lot of the probabilities in between. So you get the probability of the plays, given that Shakespeare wrote it, divided by the probability of the plays, given that Francis Bacon had written it. And because the counts of the words in the document and the different orders in which they can be created or put is the same, because we're looking at the same document, you can cross those out. So basically you're looking at, for each word in the document, and however many times it's there, what is the probability that author used that distribution of words. And so the probability of the word the probability of the word in the document for that author. So what is the probability of the word the for the probability of the word the in, let's say, Romeo and Juliet, given the probability that Marlowe used that sort of thing. So you expand it out with logs. I won't go into all those details because they're fairly simple. But basically, I found all the plays as .txt files, and then I had to count all the words up in them and put them in pandas data frames. So that's Shakespeare's plays, you can see those. These are Bacon's essays, he's a philosopher. De Vere, I had to basically put each of the poems in there separately. That's Marlowe's plays. And then effectively I combined all of the chosen and not chosen plays into one big count of words so that we get the prior probability that person said that word or wrote that word. And then you just basically do that math and iteratively go through trying each of the combinations. And effectively if we average all of them so that we figure out the overall, we basically get that Shakespeare is more likely to have written all of his plays than any of the other authors, but if you were to choose one, because you knew for certain that Shakespeare didn't exist, you'd probably want to choose Bacon, despite the fact that the genres are very different.